just a little history on the playground area. It was donated by Doug Luce, or the senior, the Bank of Lucedale, the organization, back in the early 1900s. And it used to just be an area, and they fixed it up, put a few swings down there, and that was the original playground. And then back in 1995, Bank of Lucedale Time and Rotary Club and several different organizations came together and donated money, and they built the playground, which my daughter played on when she was a kid. That was 30 years ago. But over time, the equipment had gotten in bad shape and erosion of the land and all. So it was time to redo it.
Hey y'all, good morning and welcome back to our Century Check-In podcast brought to you by Century Bank, where we take banking personally. I'm your host, Jill. Janet is out. She's not with us today, so I recruited my partner in crime, as they say here at the bank. This is Lacey Martin, and she is the new branch manager at the Marketplace branch. And so I'm glad to have her this morning. For all of y'all that know us, we pretty much go together when it comes to banking. So, yes. So I'm glad to have her this morning, and we're going to round back to her and talk about her new role in a minute. But this morning, our special guest is Al Jones, Coach Al Jones, which we probably will refer to you that way this morning. And Coach Jones, we're so glad to have you this morning. We wanted to have you on just to talk about community involvement, the direction that the city's going, the growth that's happening in the city, our role, the bank's role in partnering with the city to do a lot of these things. So let's start off. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. I feel like most everybody that's going to watch us is going to know who you are, but let's talk about it a little bit.
And you say that, Jill, this community has grown so much. So we got a lot of people that sometimes we took for granted that has moved in here, and growth has grown tremendously. But I am Al Jones, and she said, I'm Coach Jones. And it's interesting when I go somewhere, I kind of think, all right, they call me Mr. Al or Coach Jones, or, in the future I'll be called Mayor. But it's just a title. That's just something you go by. But I moved here back in 1989, came here as assistant football coach. And we fell in love with it. And my wife, I'd been moved a couple of positions before then. He said, no more. So we made it here, and I coached here. That's it. I coached here for 22 years. 10 of them as head coach. Football coach was my main sport.
That's right. And
I taught math. And after 22 years here, I retired from Mississippi. I had 28 years of all total teaching. Went to Alabama and taught for 10 years. But I'm still involved here. Go to church here, raise my daughter here. Always involved. And while I was teaching in Alabama, Peyton Dudley came to me and says, I'm getting ready to retire. Would you consider running for Alderman? And I said, no, that's something I had no ambition to do. But, the good Lord can change your mind, different things. And some reason I got involved and ran and won Alderman. And this is going to be my second term to Alderman. And then after doing that, when you get in city politics, you kind of start, it's like everything overwhelming. But as time progressed, started to get more involved in different projects and everything. And then being a competitive nature as a coach, I said, I want to see some things happen. Mm-hmm. And you can't do it by yourself. And we'll talk more in depth about how the whole community is involved in this process. But got several projects going, and Doug Lee came to me, the present mayor, and said, this is it for me. And he said, would you consider running for mayor? And prayed about it a long time. And one of the things I kept, I can't do it because of this, that, and other. And you kind of like Moses in the Bible, had all these excuses, but good Lord said, you got to trust me. And so I decided to do that, and luckily or scary, nobody came out against me, so I'm unopposed. So July the 1st, I will be officially the new mayor.
So July the 1st. Okay.
July the 1st, we'll take over, and we'll talk about the new role, some of we've already know who 4 of our alder people is going to be, and we've got one race. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I've always, and growing up and being family oriented, and I was very blessed to have a family that was, very supportive. And my daddy always told me, so wherever you go as a coach or wherever you live in the community, always be involved. And his motto, whatever you do, leave it better than when you found it.
That's right, absolutely.
And so that's been kind of what we came here, and I don't have to, I'm saying this, mayor or being in politics wasn't something I was looking for. But I'm competitive. I want to see some things happen, and I want to see for the future, And my daughter grew up here, but she's not living here now. But I still see I got friends and family here.
Well, you've been so invested in the lives of so many students who are now adults, who are now working in this city, who own businesses in this city. I think, do you have one on the city council did you teach her when she was in school, or?
I taught Brittany when she was in school.
Okay.
She was up. I've been in school. I taught her. She was in school.
She was in school when you were there.
And I remember Lacey in school. So you go, and I remember a lot of people. I come across people, and that was one of my fears, because after being exposed to so many people, I'll see people around town, and they'll speak to me, and I say, all right, my name, who is it? What's the name? I know I was recognizing them, but that was one of my fears as far as going, because I can't. Some days you get over, you just have trouble remembering names, but that you go overcome. That's not important. I just remember the name is not as important as you remember the relationships, and I think that's what we're going to talk about today. Is the relationships is what kept me here, and relationship. This is what Century Bank is so well at, is the relationship with people.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It is, and we take pride in that. It's our slogan. It's on our billboard where our faces are in that lovely little curve every time you pass by there. But we do take them personally here at the bank. That's kind of been who we are as an institution, who we are as a bank. Mr. Doug is really, and I know Mr. Doug. He really takes pride in the fact that we're able to build those relationships with our customers in our community.
And maintain them. That's right.
And when I first moved here in 1989, I started going to church, First Baptist Church, and a lady who's deceased now, Phyllis Allen, became friends with her, and it wasn't no time. I had several people back then with Bank of Lucedale. You go to Bank of Lucedale, from people I worked with, people I went to church with, and then as time rocked on, Judy Luce is one that helped me buy the house that I'm in right now. And so you got all these connections, but I came here, and there's other banks that I could have went to, but I chose it because of the people, and that's where you go. And there's a lot of great institutions here, but that's the reason I chose Central Bank, Bank of Lucedale, because of the relationships.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we like I said, we take pride in that.
Absolutely.
With Lacey's new role, of course, it's something we've always had to do in the roles that we've had at the bank, but with her new role as managing the branch out there, it's kind of pushed up to the top of your importance list that you're having to build those relationships at a new branch.
That's right. And kind of like Coach Jones, it's kind of one of those things that got brought to my attention, and I was asked if I, wanted to take that position. And it was never anything I really planned for or saw coming. But like you said, everything happens for a reason, and it kind of just got put into place, and I fell right into the role. So it's been a great change for me, really. Mm-hmm. So
it has. It's been a big change.
About 6 months. Yeah. Yep. So it's been a very large change, and I'm still growing and learning in my role. So it's going good though.
Well, and I think we're all, as long as we're growing and learning. If we're not continuing to grow and learn, then what are we doing? Are we really being effective? Are we really? And so that's to me like what you're doing. You're taking the next step. Becoming the mayor, the leader of the city. So you've led a football team, you've led students, and now you're going to lead a city. So tell us a little bit about, how you feel about that and like your direction.
It's interesting. You look back on your different life experiences. That's what you go by, life experience. And I've learned through, even though coaching a football or teaching a classroom or being involved in church is different, but all those experiences prepare you for things, different aspects. And being a mayor, I see my role as a facilitator, because no one person is going to make a huge difference. And I'm not here to say, all right, I left a legacy of doing this or whatever. But I could look at different things, and some of the projects that we're going to talk about here in just a minute. They wouldn't happen unless we had people that cared about it. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about relationships, and people here in George County and Lucedale, when you say it, you kind of say that simultaneously. As I go around the state, not many areas have that one municipality in the county. And we say the county, we actually, people from Greene County, Stone County, Mobile County, and Jackson County will come here to shop and do business and own businesses here. So it's a center point. The city of Lucedale is we got not a whole lot of population when compared to other people, but a large number of people come in and use the services here.
And the involvement in Second Saturdays. I mean, I know we see more and more coming in town for these events.
And so, and the Second Saturday, which is a great facilitator, you get people come in and you look for quality of life. Okay. And in quality of life, and we're going to talk about different things, whether it be recreation, whether it be your business, what do you have to offer here. But people have drawn people to Lucedale, I found out, and people have come from all over different areas. From people sell the house from anywhere in the United States and buy unseen and come here, or they may have visited a Second Saturday and say, I like the relationship. But it goes back to the community and as far as how people feel. We have that small town feel. We do. And that's a challenge we have, because some people fear that the growth is going to take away that small town. But here again, what we're talking about here is if you walk down the main street, people will speak, and if somebody getting ready to cross the street, they usually going to stop and let you cross the street, which, it's just a small town atmosphere. Then all of a sudden you go to the other side of town, and you see where the marketplace is. There is traffic. You got all the commerce, but you can go small town downtown, or you can go over there. But what makes it different, and we're talking about it as far as happening, is you got these services, but this small town feel, the friendliness, the community,
it's still
the relationship.
The personal service, the personal relationship.
And that's what sets us apart, and that's what's unique. But we still have problems that we got to work on. That's where I see a facilitator. When we do have a problem, now you got a choice. You can sit there and you can be negative and you can complain about it. But luckily, I found some people that I get the right people. Hey, there's a problem. Let's find a solution. Let's start fixing. We work to, and one person's not going to make a difference. But it's amazing the different projects that we're working on. How many different, whether it be a business or community or organization, have come and helped make that happen.
Yeah, I love the fact that you said, let's don't be negative, let's be positive. In this world, social media, all the things, it's just so easy to be negative, and I think people fall into that. But positivity, you got to have positivity to make the change and make the change work and make it successful. So I love that you said that. Well, let's talk about a little bit of that growth. So I know the park project has been going on for a little while. Tell us a little bit about that and kind of what phase we're in right now.
Well, let's back up and get a little history.
Okay.
Jill, I think it was back in 2022, we went to a leadership conference.
We did. We sure did.
And we were at Camp Shelby. There was, I forgot, 10, 12 of us. I forgot how many.
I think 12 of us.
12 of us were there. And at that time, I was Alderman, and I was just trying to learn what all my responsibility. And Darwin Nelson was the mayor at the time. And one of the things that Praising the Park was fizzled out because they had so much trouble with the stage. So we were trying to work on getting the stage built, and it cost money and the different aspects. And they asked me to give an update on about what's going on in the city. And I was talking about the stage in the park, and all of a sudden, some of the ladies there brought up, what about the playground? What about the playground? And of course they had a vested interest. And here again, there's a difference between criticism and constructive criticism. They saw a need.
That's right.
And all of a sudden, I was put on the hot seat there. We had a relationship, but I still.
Well, we were on the hot seat at Camp Shelby anyway, I felt like, but yeah.
But in that conversation, a small group, all of a sudden, there was a need. And then how do you meet that need? Yeah. Well, we come back, and then Doug Lee took over. Maybe we went over and looked, and we thought, well, we can take and maybe we can do this with the city, just kind of patch it up. And this didn't seem right, because it's a great location. And just a little history on the playground area. It was donated by Doug Luce, or the senior, the Bank of Lucedale, the organization, back in the early 1900s. And it was used to just be a area, and they fixed it up, put a few swings down there, and that was the original playground. And then back in 1995, Bank of Lucedale Time and Rotary Club and several different organizations came together and donated money, and they built the playground, which my daughter played on when she was a kid. That was 30 years ago. But over time, the equipment had gotten in bad shape and erosion of the land and all. So it was time to redo it. So Lewis Valentine, myself, we started going around to different banks and different organizations saying, would you be willing to donate, trying to raise money? And I can remember coming to Century Bank and asking, and the wheels started turning over time. And what got it started was Century Bank donated $50,000 to get the project started. Well, that's a lot of money, but it takes a lot of money to redo something.
That was a big job.
And one of the questions asked, as far as I found out, well, what other people involved? Well, we had a fundraiser. We had 2 5K runs. We had people donate. We had not just donate money, but donate time. We had different organizations that, the Kiwanis Club sponsored a Tyler part of the playground. We've had, the Rotary Club gave money. The different businesses gave money. We had the Beautification Committee doing the landscaping. Singing River came in and did Singing River Electric came in and did some work. And I just name time after time of the different groups come together. And go back to, you can't do anything by yourself. There's nothing that, when I take over as mayor, it's not going to be any magical one. It's anything's going to be any different than any other mayor has been here or any other position. But what's the difference is we as a community see a need and we meet that need. And you got the playground going to Top Park. We finally got some funding. And by the way, we're still struggling because it costs so much money. Well, we went to our state legislature. And very fortunate, I mentioned, Manley Barton, who doesn't have a housetop, nobody in Lucedale votes for him. He has a southern part of the county. But with him, Dennis DeBar, Elliot Birch, and now Steve, that was before Steve Locke came on, but they're supported. They got us some money which not only for the playground, but you'll see other improvements to park with extra parking, going to try to upgrade some of the pavilions and things going on to park. And I just won't go through the whole list, but it's a process we're going through to trying to upgrade the park. Well, what's your emphasis on the park? Look at kids today. It's easy to sit there and I can pull out my phone and kids sit there all day long and look at a device and sit at home. And there's no interaction. Well, there's 2 things happen. If they go to that playground and y'all you have kids,
absolutely, I know my son loves the playground.
Well, usually the other kids play, so they're having to play, to share the equipment, play their
and the interaction, and they get to chat and meet one another if they're at different schools or different locations. So I mean, absolutely, it's a good come together area.
Yes.
So
have birthday parties there, and so you're meeting indeed the quality of life. Let's talk about the quality of life, which makes George County Lucedale special. Is because of relationships, because you got to have certain amenities that you need to offer, and the playground and the park is one of them that we hopefully will meet one of those needs. That's not, we'll talk about some other, that's not the only thing we're working on, because you got infrastructure we got to deal with also.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's all come together, and it didn't cost the city a tremendous amount of money because we raised money, we got money from state legislators, and we got different funding mechanisms to make it happen. And I'm just excited that it's happening now. It took a long period of time, and we got a lot of criticism for how long it took. But it's coming. But it's better to do it right than then halfway. We could have just kind of halfway done it, and it would not been last. But hopefully that playground will be there for years, and y'all may have grandkids to play on it.
That's right. I know, and it was a long time coming. Like you said, it was a good investment back into the city. So.
And that's just one example. That's just a playground, and all we're going to go there. And we're looking forward. We're going to have a ribbon cutting coming up. And matter of fact, we got some planning on that. For that, and then we're looking forward to planning a day in the park hopefully sometime in May, where we just celebrate all the improvements of the park along with the stage and everything that's going on there.
Oh, well, we'll be looking forward to that.
that'll be
That's
a large
exciting for
event,
sure.
so.
Yeah. Well, since you're on the topic of the leadership conference that we went to, so that was just a little quick overview. That is something that the chamber sponsors every year, and so there's different business leaders who go through that program. So one other thing, since we're talking about improvements in the city, that they kind of put you on the hot seat about that year was the city, the waterworks, and like you just said, infrastructure and the upgrades and what a challenge that had been. So speak a little bit about that, because if I remember correctly, I feel like there was some funding that was coming in for that. Was that at a federal level or?
Let's give a little history as far as the history back before my time. Some of this water system goes back to even to 1940s. Some of it hadn't. And they've had several upgrades, but a lot of times in the past when they put a new water system in, they left the old water system there and just tied into it, that didn't shut it down. So you got some of this, goes back that's real old. So it's sitting in the ground a long time, so it's in ill repair. So and we're not the only cities facing this. This is throughout the nation because it's just the infrastructure is so expensive. So in the past, the first funding mechanism was called a block grant, a community block grant that would get, water one year and sewer one year. And a lot of it had been trying to add new residents out. The city annexed several years back towards the Highway 98 and going out, Northside Church Road and the area out there we're trying to add to it. But it's just been small increments. And of course, I'm going to use the word ARPA. They use all these letters, but ARPA, American Rescue Plan.
That's right.
That we qualify for, I think the original amount was like $700,000. But since we was a city less than 10,000, we held that money and we got a 2-to-1 match from the state because of being that type of city. So with that ARPA money, the first thing we did was came in with, I'm going to use the word GIS mapping system. And it's like GPS. So we hired a firm to come in and start mapping where all our lines were. And Bev, and now it's amazing technology. You can go and get a GPS coordinates and it should tell you what kind of line is there, what size it is, and how deep it is. But it's only good as where where the lines are, because some of our maps were not very accurate. They just mapped some of them. But the good thing about this system, as we find lines or as we put in new lines, you can add to this system for the future, because that's what's happened is when some of the people that used to manage the system, as they got out of it, they had all that knowledge in their head, but it wasn't anything written down. So we're seeing some results from that right now, but it will help in the future as we continue to add and find different lines.
It will, because we are growing so fast, which is a great thing, but it presents these challenges.
That's right, and it's
with
just putting harder emphasis on the water system itself.
right.
So that was the first money we spent. And with that, also right now, we've hired an engineering firm to give us a master plan, where we need to go, because it's going to be a long process. So where do we need to put our emphasis first, and to give us a 5-year and then work on a 10-year plan as far as upgrading our water system. But we still have some money left from ARPA. So the next pot of money we used for ARPA, we had a tremendous problem at the county jail. There's 300 or 400 inmates out there, and inmates don't always follow the rules, but that system, we were burning up pumps because they flushed anything and everything down the commode. And it was not nice, something tight, but this is the reality. And we were spending $20-something thousand per pump. So, plus the line was stopped up. So we spent some of that money, like $600,000 and it's almost so. If you went down Beaver Dam Road a couple of weeks ago, you may have been blocked some of the traffic because they was updating that manhole where they was tying in that system. So that was part of there. So we used some of that money there. But the bulk of the money, if you've gone down Main Street, and Mill Street, Winter Street, you will see some traffic block. We're replacing a main water line from Chinese restaurant to Church Street. Well, that's not very far, but that's $1.2 million. Wow. That just blows my mind. But it's not only replacing the line, but they're also going to tie it in and kill some of these old lines. Just when they was boring the other day, there was 2 small lines, just a vibration caused those 2 lines to break. We was there to fix them, but that's it's going to be a process.
It's a process, but I think it's good,
It's in the right direction.
Yeah, in the right direction. And if people know, like, if they know that this money is here and that y'all are making the best decision you can by the information that you get and that we're moving forward, patience, they say, is a virtue, but not a lot of people possess it. So we have to work on that every day, don't we?
One more company as far as looking future, and we're very fortunate. Like a guy that grew up here that's retired from another industry came up to us with some technology. People ask about the growth. Well, part of it, and you hate to talk about the sewer system and all, but our lagoon was redone several years back. And its capacity, we was thinking, well, its capacity 60, 70%. But as time goes, sludge will build up in the lagoon. That's the process when it goes through. And it cuts the capacity down. Well, all of a sudden, with the growth and with the sludge buildup, it wouldn't take long for that to remedy that problem. The old way was you had to hire somebody to come in and dig it out and then dispose of all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, with modern technology, there's something called microbugs. And it will actually eat that sludge when you put the bugs in it. Mm-hmm.
I've never heard that before.
And it came from the oil industry. Chevron used it, these bugs, and it eats that stuff, and it changes, and therefore you don't have to dispose.
And you're not busting any of the infrastructure stays. And you
don't have to cost to dispose of, and it will just eat it up, and then it change to ammonia, and then it will just wash out the system. So we're experimenting with that system. We came in there, flew a helicopter, and showed us what the depth of the lagoon was, and so hopefully that will work. And preparing for the future, that's what you mentioned, for future growth. Because to build another lagoon, you're talking about it being astronomical, but. Wow. If this works like we think it's going to work, because this already we see some of the early results, then that will help us for growth in future, keep our lagoon, because that's a big deal as far as, water's one thing, but EPA, they get you, there's a lot of things goes on. So all this behind the scene, and we don't do a good enough job in the city, it's advertising what we are doing trying to keep up with the problem, and it's just a matter of time before we're going to have a line break and we'll have another boil water nose. That's just part of it, but that's just.
But it is. But I think it's important, transparency, like we were talking about. If people know that, like if they know
it's being worked on,
that's right.
Then it's a difference.
They may not like some of the results, but if you understand what's going on, at least you can hey, that's part of it. And that's what we got to do a better job. And I appreciate y'all doing a podcast. And this not maybe something you want to talk about, but this is part of the community. As the community grows and we continue to grow, we are, as a city, trying to do our part as far as, that's another part, trying to prepare for the water and the sewer. That's a big part is for the growth.
Well, and part of growth, let's round back around to community involvement. So Lacey is currently serving on the board for Rotary, and are you still serving on the board at JA? Is that still?
I am. I'm still the treasurer for Junior Auxiliary, and I will roll out of that position in May.
Okay. So tell us a little bit. So we were talking about community involvement. So the Rotary Club, for those who don't know that or know this, they sponsor the Christmas parade every year.
That's right.
And work with the city. Is that right?
Rotary has been around. It's been established here in Lucedale for quite some time. I know Coach Jones has come and spoke several times on different things with the city. So Rotary is a nonprofit organization that's, like I said, been around for a long time, and we do things to serve in our community. Two of the large events is the county fair and then the parade.
Yes, I forgot the fair.
How can you forget the
fair?
fair?
How can I forget the fair? I passed
the fair
out
is probably the biggest money raiser that
absolutely.
By far. And talking about, we've been very fortunate in that Doug Lee and Lewis Valentine have been two key components of the Rotary Club, and they're in the process. They're winding their terms down. They're getting ready. And luckily, Brittany Green, who's our new alderwoman, that we'll talk about here in just a second, she has joined the Rotary Club. And then I think Carol is part of the Carol Howell, another alderwoman, and both of them, they've already unopposed. So it shows you how it's got to interlock. Not only are these ladies serving as making decisions in the city, but they're involved in the community. That's so important.
That's right. They're making the decision, but they're also going out and working in the community. Yeah, I love that. That's a great thing. So, so tell us about Junior Auxiliary. So, that's fairly new to the city.
Junior Auxiliary is very new. So we formed the organization. It's also a nonprofit organization, and it is more geared towards helping children in our community. So we are trying to serve children in need, giving back, and something similar to Rotary, but it's more on a higher scale, I guess. So because they've been established
The
for so long.
focus and the emphasis is
Absolutely.
children activities and children. Okay.
Yes, for JA.
That's great.
And I am, like I said, I'm coming off of that board in May. So, but
you'll still be in the...
I'll still be in the organization, and we'll still be contributing and doing for our community. But as far as Rotary, I know like we were talking about the growth and seeing all the changes, the parade has gotten so large for our small town.
Yes, it has.
That I know the city has actually, we were talking about doing some larger planning for barricades, for different things along the parade route, for safety, for just because it's getting so crowded, so overpopulated, that it's hard to be safe during the parade route.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a testament to our community, because our parade, I mean, for our community, it's such a big event, and there's so many people that participate. The floats, I think, are absolutely wonderful. And we've had a float.
Century Bank had second place.
We did. We won second place. And so we've had a float in there several years, and we love it. But I'll tell you, 2018 was the first time that Lacey and I took on the float, and, we coordinated and got it together. And when we rounded that corner, Coach Jones, to get on Main Street, I looked at Lacey and I was like, oh my word.
Yeah, you kind of have to take a deep breath, because it's so overwhelming.
It was so overwhelming, the people. And so when you get to thinking about that and talking to other people, talking to the restaurant owners, it's out of town people. They come literally for our parade
and
every
they bring
year.
a lot of income back to the city. Do. So it's a great event.
And you say, get back to the feel of small town, because not only have a lot of people participate. Now, businesses, churches, organizations will participate in the parade, but people feel safe in the parade.
They do,
but we still, with the logistics, here, back from the city side, the logistics, getting the streets shut down early, and we got some things we're working on, the barricades, we're gradually adding to our barricades to keep the people safe, because it is if you've been in parade, if you don't know where to park, you may be there a while or getting everything out. Logistic becomes a nightmare. But here, when you go downtown, it is
you
8,
feel
10,
safe
12
walking
people
along
deep
Main
all
Street.
the way down.
It is. And, my little arm, I can't throw it that many rows deep. I just have to throw as hard as I can. So, but yeah, it was very eye-opening to us, because we've always went to the parade, but I feel like until you ride down there, till you're looking at it as a whole, and you don't realize the number of people, and then you start talking about it, and you realize that there's so many people that come from out of town, and then they tell you why, because it is a small town feel. They come for the whole day. They shop at our local shops. They eat at our local restaurants, and they just, are just so excited about it. So
and
it brings in...
They're excited about the hospitality
yes,
that is given in this area as well.
So it brings in so much revenue, so much growth to our business owners, but also, like you said, and like Lacey said, there, you got to plan for that growth to make sure that the safety continues to be number one.
And I was talking to Brittany yesterday. We went to Jackson to talk to the legislator about having a meeting. So go ahead and look at something about where we need to improve on, as far as making sure everybody knows when the streets are shut down, where we need more barricades and things like that. And it's a coordination to keep it that way. But back to the city itself, our employees, they work hard to get the public officials float and supervise any elected official can ride that float. And that's where I've been in the last several years. Of course, this past year, great experience for me, because I happen to be the Grand Marshal. But what is my daughter was driving the car for me, and my granddaughter was riding in the car, and she'll never forget that experience.
Yeah,
as far as,
we didn't get to see it. We were a few cars back.
But that's, here again, making memories is when you go back to whatever, those kids, whether it's in the parade or in the playground or playing athletics, we'll talk about here in just a minute, those memories are made, and that's something they'll reflect back on. Not only memories of the event itself, but the relationship that they had, and they'll think about, as a retired coach, I'll see someone, they'll see me and they'll recognize me, but usually what they're doing is they're remembering back to experience they had in school or in an event, or they think back, hopefully it's a positive experience they had. And that's what it's all about, is you create memories and relationships, and you always go back on those things. Hey, I was fortunate enough to have those relationships.
So there's a new event like leading up to the Christmas parade the weekend before is the tree lighting now, and doesn't the courthouse lighting go in?
Last year we was able to coordinate, and that's one thing we've done well here lately. The city and the county have been more coordinated in several of our events. We're working together in the sports complex. We worked together a while back on Scott Road, and working together on some traffic issues. So we was able to coordinate with the county and had them at the same time. And we realized that there were some improvements that we're going to work on having. The city employees work hard putting it. It just doesn't happen. All the decorations around town, they have to work hard and the decorating the tree and all. And we're in the process of getting a new tree right now.
Okay. A bigger one, huh?
That's a big one. That's our goal. Hopefully get. Of course, everything costs money, so we're working on what can afford and all. But here again, that's another event that you come in and usually during that event, we'll have some kids perform or do something. And here again, recognize those kids. Go back to Rotary Club. Well, I remember about Rotary Club when I was coach, you'd always recognize players a week or with different events. So here again, you're bringing in these young people, the future of the county. You want to recognize them and keep them involved, because it's easy for kids to sit on the sideline. You want to get them involved in activities, play on the playground, doing sports, get them involved in some type of organization where they can learn from that and hopefully come back here and be contributors to this community.
Well, and it's funny you say that. So just recently, we were able to sponsor the flags that are being put up around the city. We were able to do that, and so y'all invited us to the meeting, to talk about that and present that. And I really didn't know Stacy, our marketing director. She asked me to go. She couldn't go that night. I didn't actually know that the art students at the school, yes, were the ones that were putting those together. Like they designed them and their designs are out there and all that. And I thought that was great. And there were a few of them there that night, and they, accepted the award or were recognized, and they took their picture. And so I just thought when I left there, I was like, that's great that y'all asked us to come, but yet invited those kids to come so that they see, that they're important.
So let's back up a little bit before you got that. For that to happen, the Beautification Committee, which we have that, and the Art Committee that formed, that's here in the city. You see the Art Committee, you see the great murals, which adds, as you part of the downtown adds to it. They came to the city and say, well, we had those banners just didn't happen. We had to work first. They had to recognize seniors and veterans, but to have something to hang them on. So we had to work hard. We got some of the people to donate some labor to redo our stands where we could actually accommodate those banners and still do other things with it. So a lot of work had to go into that. And once they coordinate and all together, you got that part. The city played their role. The Art Committee and Beautification Committee played their role. And then they was able to recognize seniors, veterans, and then you got to the point where, hey, Century Bank stepped in. Hey, great thing right here, bought these flags. But not just seeing the flags looked at, you got kids involved in the process. Right. So you got all these things go together. There's not one person could have made it happen, but between the committees, the city, the bank, and the art the class, then you have a product, that, hey, everybody's involved. And then when some of these kids can, hey, that's something we did. And you talk about kids, the amphitheater and the park. Been working on it a long time. The kids painted all those things, and we had the high school art did a bunch of them, and we had some of them put back up and had some of that. And here, that's something they can go by. Hey, I did that, or they do something you take pride in that. And let's talk about it, because all this goes together. When people have a vested interest in something, they have part of it. They have skin in the game. I will come say it. They take more pride.
That's right.
And to be a community, to be part of this small town, you got to have pride. Hey, I'm proud to be a George County Rebel. I'm proud to be a citizen of Lucedale. I'm proud of the people I do things. That's what pride. You got to take pride, and you can concentrate on. Let's go back to, you can concentrate on all the things we don't have or all the negativity, or look what we do have, and what makes a bank, what makes a community, what makes a city is the people who do it, and that's where it is.
That's right. Well, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that you constantly continue to say that it's not one person. It's the community as a whole. It's different people from different areas who make the things happen and make it a success. And I appreciate that. And of course, we're a little biased. We're very excited for you to be the mayor.
Yeah, we are.
But I appreciate the fact that that's your focus and that it's not all about one person. It's not about me, that you're working to make those people work together and through positivity and things like that. So let's talk a little bit about just rounding back around to community involvement. We're very community oriented at the bank, and we really take pride in that. Mr. Doug that's something that he's very passionate about, and he always wants us to be passionate about it.
It's the very, the family value, community, all of that is top of his list usually. So
it is.
And just go back to the Doug and then Van, as far as whatever, when they donated, y'all donated money for the playground, it wasn't conducive as far as that lump sum. It wasn't conducive as far as a tax break or anything like that. It was did it because he wanted to get started. I mean, it was, he gave the money. You look, I'm on the board of Singing River Education Association, and the money every year between that for the kids. You look, all this, when people see interest in whatever, I keep rounding back to the young people, because if you don't invest in young people, then your future's not going to be there, because you can make do with what you have right now, but if you want this place to stay what it is, you got to invest in the future.
Absolutely, and they appreciate things more, like you said, when they see their involvement is being shown and brought out in the community. I mean, they appreciate it.
And I'm going to take right there, you're the lead, but talking about the Central Bank, let's take the soccer program.
Yes.
How many did the kids? Y'all have kids?
Yes.
Did they have to buy their jersey? I mean, the Central Bank, so I say jersey. Well, what's important is go back to sports, whether it be soccer or baseball or whatever sport, pee-wee football. If that it's just a sport, and sometimes parents get carried away. I know you can get, but it's a chance for kids to get interactive. And if talking about the team concept, you've got to be able to work together and work with people. Right. And that's where we see the importance. Well, the sports complexes are in Lucedale. One time all the baseball were spread out, and it was great because the communities was able to support it. But then over time, the baseball people came to me and said, we're having trouble. Some of them, the communities are having trouble. So can we bring it together and do a draft where this is fair as far as the teams are divided more equally? And so we accommodated that, but it just became overwhelming. It's more than the city could handle. Okay. So here again, we need to help. Went to supervisors, and it took some time, but as far as we came together, and they committed $1.25 million that we're in the process. Had to go through it took a while to get in a local agreement, all the legal parts of government and all, and we're working that out right now. But that was their part. All right, we'd still need more land. We're limited as the space we have. Well, Billy Anderson and Craig Vincent, they have an organization, LLC, whatever is the name of it, but had 12 acres out there off Fig Farm Road. They donated that 12 acres. So we had the 12 acres, but we didn't have any money to do it, but the county came in. So we're in the process of building new soccer fields out on that 12 acres. The county's already hauled over 1,300 loads of sand out there.
Oh, wow.
We had to strip the topsoil off, put the sand and put the topsoil back on, get a grade where it's going. We're getting the dirt work done, and we're getting ready to do phase 2 of it, which is the lighting. Lighting is astronomical. It's over $1 million for lighting. So we're looking at that. You got the lighting, you got the turf, you got the concession stand, you got parking, you got the fencing, all that goes with it. So if other people have built facilities like this, and you're talking about $7, $8, $10 million, but we're going to do it a lot cheaper because we're just getting as we go and trying to outsource and use, and a lot of local people. Matter of fact, one of the guys doing the pushing, he has grandkids that play soccer, and he's working hard, and he's got vested interest. So we're working hard to get that. We'll eventually go back over to the other complex, the present soccer field, and we can expand that with more baseball fields, Pee Wee football, and expand that facility over there.
Okay, well,
And-
that's going to be wonderful.
And so, and beside the soccer field, you had a piece of woods there that was city owned. A big ditch was between there. So we cleared it off and process of doing work. And we just, matter of fact, this past week, we put culverts down to cover up that ditch where we can expand the fields there and also have parking. That parking was a big deal.
It is. Parking is a big issue.
And so that's going on. And by the meantime, we went up to the present baseball field, the Milton Murray Complex. And with the county, they donated money and we gave money. And we're building a new concession stand. And it costs, concession stand is going to wind up costing close to $200,000. But it's going to be as it is. But I was standing, just to give you I was standing concession stand. I had Brittany Green was there with me, and some of the people doing the work, and Billy Anderson is over baseball. I looked around, and I had either taught or they had been in school. I knew all of them from that position because they're all here. They're local people that come back and they want to be part and be part of. So, and of course, we getting that work. We had to add some water to fields over there. We've the parents coming together. We doing our part in city and county, but then the parents can't have work days. They moved some of the fence in to create more parking. We're relying on Singer River Electric to help move some poles in there. We've got to do some lighting. We getting above, and the county has a electrician who's going to come hang the lights for us. So it's all working together. And all of a sudden, hey, baseball's fixing to start. We got to close everything else. So everything's a pressure, and then the soccer parents go over and they have work days, and it's amazing how the different people work together. I mean, we kind of provide sport, but the soccer parents, which are great as far as they keep up with their stuff, they make it happen. The baseball parents make it happen. The Pee Wee parents. We just kind of try to get the things coordinated to where they can be successful and offer these, a kid may not like this, but they got something they get involved.
That's right. And I like how you said, like you really, in just that conversation of giving us a little overview, you gave us like 5 different leaders in the community, businesses that were buying into that project and wanting to contribute in whichever way that they could. So that's a great thing too, that we're able to do that. I know that's what we always try to do with serving on these community boards. Like you and I serve on the Head Start board together, and Lacey with these 2 organizations that she's in. That's, how we stay connected, how the bank stays connected to the community, because we're involved in these organizations and we see where the work needs to be.
Right.
And then we are able to...
and we can bring it back to the bank for... more involvement for different avenues,
right?
Really.
More involvement, and then also we have to, it's up to us to keep Mr. Doug and Van informed, and knowing where we need to get involved, knowing where we need to, if we can make a difference, if we can make an impact, where we need to put that. So those are all great. That's great that you let us know about that part. So I wanted to take just a second, Lace. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on as far as your new role at the bank, and tell us a little bit about that, how you're transitioning. It's been a transition for all of us, Coach. Let me just tell you this little story. Lacey and I, because we started working at the bank when we were so very young, babies. We worked here at the main office together for 15 years. So it has been quite the transition for a lot of us, but it's been a great transition. That branch has actually had an influx of new employees, and some of them are new people to our community that moved in here as an adult. Some of them are people who grew up here, and so we've just kind of been, rebranding that branch, maybe.
Yes, more or less, and so I've been there right at 6 months or so. So I know it's been a lot of changes, a lot of adapting, me kind of learning the role as in that position, and, some of the employees learning, difference in my way of doing, the way I do things. So it's been, overall, it's been a great change. And I know I'm growing and learning daily. Mm-hmm. So and like you said, if you can always learn something new,
that's right.
It'll better the situation in the scenario. So it has been a tremendous change for me. So,
y'all are both going into new roles this year.
That's true.
Coach is going to be the mayor. You're still getting used to being the head honcho, the branch manager out there. And so I think
it's going really well though, and I feel like consistency. We've been going in the right direction, so it feels good to see a change.
Absolutely, yeah. Change is good. Change is hard. I always say that change is hard, but it's usually good in the end. So
and with change, with growth comes headaches. We already talked about the water and sewer, and we're trying to upgrade the facilities. But talking about that area right there, Cowart Street is awful as far as traffic, and so much traffic. And the 63 going to high school, that's the most traveled road in the county as far as taking out 98 as far as local traffic. And so you're talking about a tremendous amount of traffic. We've been trying to get funding for Cowart Street because to put a turning lane down Cowart Street costs $4 million.
oh wow.
Because you got so many
$4 million.
You got so many utilities, and you got live oak tree that you got to avoid, and you got to make it where it's curb and gutter because you got draining issues right there. But we've been applying for Gulf Coast Restoration Fund last several years, and you keep trying, and it hasn't been successful. But we're still working on that. As you go down, as you've seen the tremendous growth. You couldn't road trees on both sides of the road going towards the high school. Now all of a sudden you look across there and you see the new concession stand at the baseball field when you're on 63.
Yeah, everything is cleared and open, and so, even right there at the Ventura Road, that was a big project.
So you got a lot of things going
wonderful.
On, and we hear trying to come out of Ventura Drive is awful. So that one way we made a trip up to Jackson yesterday trying to get help from legislators for trying to get some signalization there at that intersection. And of course, it's not easy because it's so close to the Walmart red light. So you got some issues that we're trying to work out. We're trying to rectify that as far as trying to get some funding for that. And we got future funding here again. It's not looking, you can't just say, well, I may remember that problem right now. But if that growth continues on those open sites, you got the old Avon Trailer Park, you got between Taco Bell and Car Wash, and you got the other side of Walmart. All has potential for growth, and that road will only handle so much. You got to have connector roads. So we're working together trying to get some road from the ball field. We'll call it Lagoon Road, back behind, come into connect to Ventura Drive, and eventually go around and connect to Scott Road. But that's going to take time, and it takes a lot of money. And hopefully we're working with the county trying to get them to buy into to come out to Mill Street Extension. Because if you can take some pressure off Cowart Street and get people another way to come in and out of town, the business makes it easier. And the county's
working delivery trucks, just to kind of branch some of that off instead of the main.
And it's worked together, but the county is also working on trying to get funding for a road that goes from the high school to 613. So all that in the school traffic and all, because if we continue to grow, you got to look forward. And to build, I was talking to someone, to build a road, usually between conception when you got the idea and getting it built, it's anywhere from 5 to 7 years. You got to find funding. And of course, right now we're looking for some federal funding, but of course the federal government, they're in a transition period right now. So we're having to wait and see how it shakes out. You have to be patient. But we are trying to pursue, we got ideas what we want to do, but just got to come up with the funding. Go back to learn from experience. The playground didn't know how it was going to happen, but we started working on it. And as y'all got the lead and gave the first money, and we started getting people get involved, and eventually we got some funding for it. And it's probably the same way this road. We just continue to stay in the process. I've learned through past experience. I've lost a lot of games as a coach, and you look at what didn't work, and they come up with another plan and try to go back again. And you just don't get discouraged. You got to keep on going. And that's where we're working towards the future, trying to prepare for it.
Well, that's great. And I mean, I'm excited to hear that y'all have a plan and that you're actively working.
Absolutely. To see that the change, I know, like you said, the growing pains, everybody gets frustrated about the traffic, but to know that something is on plan for the future.
And as we plan for the future, let's go back to real quick as far as the city involvement. I'm more a person, all right, the basic needs. But our board is changing. We are we got one position that will be election coming up April 1st, and it's going to be y'all hosting here at Central Bank training center.
Training facility, yes, sir.
And so it's going to be there at Ward 4. You got 2 candidates running there, Ken Holland and Brian Howell. So encourage you to get involved in Ward 4. But some of them have already been decided. And we got 3 ladies on our board. And that helps as far as seeing different perspectives. Just like the beautification, you talk about some of the ladies, and they see things that, not only you got to have the nuts and bolts as far as infrastructure, but you also got to have other things that make the city special. That the things that sometimes I don't look at.
A lady's touch.
A lady's
touch.
It's
like
personal decor.
I don't think if back let's take the personal is at home. Bed to bed. Why do you got to have all these pillows on it?
Oh, yeah. But no, we love a pillow, Coach.
That's a
pillow.
female touch. And that's the aesthetic. So it's all part of it. You can have the basic roads get somewhere, but you also want it to look nice and to have the feel, and not only just look good, but the small town feel. And that's great. I love to see the murals downtown and different things.
Tootie's done a great job with beautification.
In the park. The playground. We got all this new equipment, but we got a piece of old swing that goes back. We don't know how far. We can't find who built it, but it was probably built back in the 40s or 50s. Oh, wow. That we're redoing and putting back in there because it's part of the culture, part of the history. Yeah. You got the old and the new that's going to be together, and people have swung on that. They've used those swings for a long period of time, and it's part of it. But here again, the old and new can still exist together because we're part of the community. Right. So
well, they can, and the old and the new need to exist together. Like you've got people who are on the board who have the experience, but you also have these new aldermen that are coming in, and they have new ideas, fresh ideas, but they also need your guidance and the others on there that have been there for a while, guidance to make their ideas a reality, but to learn from you how to make that a reality and how to move in that way.
And I have to go back to the playground again, because when I didn't have I just knew we need a new playground. That's all I needed. Then all of a sudden we get the right people and say this piece of equipment, and all of a sudden, I never thought would have, a zip line. I mean, a zip line.
Oh, there's going to be a zip line?
There's going to be a zip line.
True's going to love it.
Because here again, some of these ladies had been to playgrounds, other places, and that was one of the most popular items. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, let's just get, the basic, do it, and let's get it happening. But here again, you got to have different input, because there's not one person who has an idea. You got different ideas come together, what you can do and what you can't do, but it all works together. It's not only going to be functional, but it's also going to be aesthetically nice, and it's going to be very useful what people want, because that's where, and I encourage people to get involved. It was discouraging to me that no more people came out and tried to run for the city offices, which I'm glad I didn't have to go out and campaign and all, but right. Still, hopefully the future that people get more involved and get more excited, because you can get hung up on negatives, but we got so much stuff going on here that's very positive. The new people coming in, they get to experience what we already know is here. It's a great community, a great place to grow up, and I chose to raise my child here because of the people here. Yeah.
So. Well, that's great. That is great, and I know my bunch is going to be excited for the playground and the new soccer fields and the new baseball fields. So, I mean, it's all going to be great addition to this town. So
It is, and it just is it's just another thing that is drawing people to us. Drawing people to our feel and our town. Well, that. Coach, you gave us so much information. I feel like that, I try to keep up. I feel like we try to keep up, but there's a lot of things that you told us that I'm really excited about. And just, and we know that it's going to take a long time. These are big projects, but just to know that they're in the works, that y'all have a plan. You're trying to move forward in that way to better our community and make our everyday lives better. Commute. That's going to be a big thing. And so are you just saying that's going to be Lagoon Road, or are you already established?
Somebody else I'm going to have somebody help get that name. But going back to what we're doing right here again, the old board, the way of communication. That's why I'm glad to get new ideas. We got to communicate. This is the podcast. I'm old school. I had a few years ago, I didn't know what a podcast was. But here again, this is another way of communicating. And like I said, you didn't know what I was talking about. We got to do a better job as a city communicating what we are doing, a better job as a community to communicate, this is great things we have going on here. And it wouldn't happen unless people got involved. So I'm excited that I can look around this room right there, and I see the people that we're all home folks. I mean, that's what I'm looking around at. You can't see people behind the scene, but this podcast just, it happened. Get somebody over at family. You got people behind the scene that makes this happen. Not just this podcast, but makes everything happen. So I encourage you, there's a role that you can play. Get involved some way and make it a better place. That's my encouragement,
Well, that's great.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Coach, we appreciate you being on. I'm so excited. When Stacy told me that you agreed, I was like, oh, okay, I'm so excited. And you're always positive.
You are. You're a very good encourager. Mm-hmm. And it's a positive feeling that you leave. So
we were talking about that Monday, just trying to throw our ideas around because it was Lacey's. This is her first time to be on too. So I was excited. I was like, this one's going to be good. Coach is always positive, always has positive things to say. But you gave us a lot of information, too.
Absolutely.
Did you know any of that about the roads and stuff?
Well, I know that you and Doug have talked about some in the meetings at Rotary, but not to the extent. So.
Yeah. Great. Well, unfortunately, we're kind of wrapping it up. That's all the time we have for today. But I appreciate you so much coming on. The bank appreciates you. Absolutely. As a person, as a politician, as our future mayor. And we're excited to work with you in the future.
Well, we appreciate Century Bank and what all they do for this community and the people that makes it Century Bank.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you. So that's all the time we have for today. Next time, Janet will be back, and she's going to have some guests that are going to talk about feeding the Gulf Coast. That's another great nonprofit organization. They do a lot of great work in our local communities too. So until then, y'all have a great day, and we'll see you next time.